The news hit Washington like a thunderclap. On October 9, 2025, Senator Chuck Grassley announced an inquiry into a secret FBI operation, Arctic Frost. The shock. The FBI had been surveilling members of the United States Senate, shattering trust between Congress and the FBI. Arctic Frost was sanctioned at the highest levels, aiming to untangle the events leading up to January 6th. But spying on lawmakers has ignited a firestorm, striking at the heart of democracy. The divide in America just got deeper. Congress is demanding answers and the fallout is just beginning. To understand Arctic Frost, we go back to January 6, 2021, and the chaos that followed. The FBI launched a sweeping investigation to identify and prosecute those who broke the law that day. But the probe went further, seeking to uncover any coordinated effort to overturn the election. Arctic Frost was born as a clandestine team following the most sensitive leads. Their focus, the planning and communication before the riot. They mapped networks, analyzed travel, and tracked financial records. The premise, the challenge to the election, was more than protest. It was a potential plot. This gave them broad authority. Eventually, Special Counsel Jack Smith took over, using Arctic Frost groundwork to build high-profile cases, including indictments against Donald Trump. The investigation was seen by some as necessary accountability, but its methods soon drew scrutiny. The goal: find out who organized efforts to block certification, determine if it was criminal, and hold them accountable. As the investigation expanded, it began to focus on elected officials. That's when a legitimate inquiry crossed a line. The road to Arctic Frost was paved with good intentions, but led to dangerous territory. The connection to January 6th provided legal cover, but the scope kept growing. The deeper the probe went, the more controversial it became. The line between justice and overreach blurred. The controversy was inevitable. Now the nation is left to debate where that line should have been drawn. The consequences are still unfolding. The heart of the scandal: Republican lawmakers were targeted. Documents confirm the FBI's Arctic Frost team surveilled nearly a dozen individuals, including 8 sitting senators and a House member. Their private communications became evidence in a federal probe. This was not a broad sweep, but a targeted effort at powerful Republicans. Senator Ron Johnson, Senator Mike Lee, and Representative Scott Perry were among those reportedly targeted. All were vocal in challenging the 2020 election results. The FBI saw them as key to understanding January 6th coordination. Surveillance was legal but secretive. Phone records were subpoenaed from telecom companies. Lawmakers were never notified. The secrecy is explosive, suggesting a deliberate effort to keep Congress in the dark. If the FBI can secretly collect lawmakers' data, who's safe? It chills political discourse and undermines trust. The probe pierced the privacy essential for democracy. The fallout is just beginning. Congress is rattled. The environment is one of suspicion and fear. The scandal has only just begun to unravel. Let's clarify what the FBI collected. It wasn't wiretapping. Agents didn't listen to calls or read texts. Instead, they conducted a toll analysis, collecting metadata. Metadata reveals who you called, when, how long, and sometimes where. It's less intrusive than wiretapping, but still powerful. By mapping this data, investigators can see networks and patterns. Even without content, metadata can be used to build a case or intimidate. Critics call this a violation of the separation of powers. The executive branch gained a window into the legislative branch. The FBI has since changed its rules. Surveillance of lawmakers now requires higher approval. This policy shift is an admission Arctic Frost went too far, but the data was already collected. The debate now: should this surveillance ever be allowed against political figures? The line between metadata and wiretapping is technical, but the threat to privacy is real. The controversy over government surveillance is far from over. The political reaction was instant and fierce. Republicans call Arctic Frost proof of government weaponization. Senator Ron Johnson called the surveillance shocking. and undemocratic. The accusation of wiretapping, though false, spread quickly and fueled outrage. The FBI is now seen by some as a political tool, not an impartial agency. Democrats argue the investigation was necessary to defend democracy. They warn that attacking the FBI could make agents hesitant to investigate the powerful. The debate is no longer about facts, it's about justice and power. Washington is paralyzed, trust eroded. Arctic frost is now a proxy war in America's larger political battles. Every new detail is filtered through a partisan lens. The truth is complicated, but the conflict is simple. The divide grows deeper. The Arctic frost probe cost taxpayers over $50 million. Critics call it government waste. Supporters say it was the price of defending democracy. The investigation ended abruptly after Trump's 2024 election victory. The Justice Department dropped charges, closing the case. Trump's supporters saw vindication. Critics saw politics overriding justice. Special counsel Jack Smith, now a private citizen, insisted the evidence was strong. He claimed a conviction was possible if the case had gone to trial. The closure leaves unanswered questions. Was it justice or a failure to hold the powerful accountable? The debate will continue in the court of public opinion. The high cost and inconclusive end only fuel division. The legacy of Arctic frost is unresolved. The story is far from over. The scandal triggered a shakeup inside the FBI. At least 2 agents involved in the probe were fired. A third faces discipline. Their termination signals a new era under Director Kash Patel. Supporters say it's accountability. Critics fear it will chill future investigations. The firings are part of a broader effort to restore trust and distance the FBI from past tactics. New protocols now require unprecedented approval for any surveillance of Congress. The goal: prevent another Arctic frost. The Bureau is trying to prove it can police itself without losing independence. But the firings could be seen as a political purge. The challenge: rebuild trust without sacrificing the FBI's mission. The crisis for the Bureau is not over. The careers of several agents have ended. The stakes for the FBI and the country remain high. Though Arctic frost is closed, its impact lingers. State-level prosecutions continue, keeping the issues alive. Congress is demanding a full accounting, documents, testimony, and new laws. The debate over security versus privacy is now front and center. How much power should law enforcement have, especially over political leaders? The scandal has renewed calls for stronger privacy protections. Arctic frost has eroded trust in parties, the FBI, and institutions. The episode highlights the fragility of democratic norms. The shadow of Arctic frost will serve as a warning. Tools meant to protect democracy can become threats to it. The questions raised will shape policy for years. The nation is left searching for balance. The story's legacy is a nation on edge.